All right, welcome back. You're watching the Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We're broadcasting to 40 million homes nationwide, and guess what we are? You may have seen it on all the major media. A bar owner in Staten Island was arrested the other night for occupying his business. What was he doing wrong? Trying to feed his family, trying to give some people that come to his restaurant a little hamburger and a beer, maybe. But the dictators up in Albany and the dictator without the tater in New York City here, Mayor de Blasio, they decided that, hey, if you want to be a capitalist, if you want to have principles, if you want to fight for freedom and liberty, too bad. We're sending the Gestapo down there. And General Manager Dan Presti actually got arrested in the place. So if you want to talk about capitalism, if you want to talk about freedom and what this country was founded on, many of those norms and foundational elements of America are going by the wayside. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on what you should be doing with your portfolio, but I'm not a financial advisor. I do have a fantastic guest for us today in Mitch Roschelle. Mitch is the founding partner of Macro Trends Advisors. And Mitch, give us a little update on the markets. Just to tell you where I'm coming from, I'm not an advisor, but I think getting to cash right now, if you have some nice gains, can't hurt you. At least you know what your tax implications are. And if Joe Biden wins, I think the market's going to tank. So I'm just advising friends who ask me for personal advice, like, hey, get to some cash and stay nimble right now because there's a lot of volatility with this election. What say you?
I'd agree with that, JT, but I wouldn't sell all of it because you're going to wake up the next day and see the market's up and made another new high, and you're going to say to yourself, oh boy, I made a mistake. And then what do? Then you bet the ranch and you throw it back into the market. If you want to be in the market and you want to stay in over time, my best advice is dollar cost average. Come in with the same amount, same day of the week, same day of the month, and just sort of do it programmatically over time. The other thing is you have a lot of folks that have 401ks that may have a year-end employer match, and I'd say don't dump that all in at once. Market timing, I don't even think the pros get market timing right. So it's going to be hard for a regular Joe Blow, Jane Doe investor to time it right. And the last thing I'd say is if you do have gains, you bought a stock 10 years ago and you have a huge gain in it, and you may need that money in the near term because you know you're buying a car, you're buying a house or something. I'd definitely suggest selling it before the end of the year because it is, as you mentioned, unclear whether or not the new administration, if we do end up having a new administration, would do something and raise capital gain taxes.
So here's what I think. I spent 30 years on Wall Street. My background is in short selling, so I tend to look for overvalued situations. But the one thing I know for sure is I've never seen anybody in my whole career get hurt by taking a profit. So I think there's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of a 2-for-1 sale here, right? The market's had a great run from the lows, the pre-pandemic, post the pandemic lows. Okay, and there are probably people with some great gains out there. So, what's the market hate most? Me and you hate most is uncertainty. The certainty is this: if you have a profit, you can lock it in. The uncertainty is if Joe Biden wins, the market's tanking, and then if you start selling into the tank, you're going to have tax implications in January of 2021 that are going to be on a whole new tax schedule. So you don't even know what your yield is going to be. So I feel like you can always get back in. You may miss a little bump, but we're not going to have this 3 standard deviation move to the upside. People can just take the cash and redeploy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, and the advice I've often given people too is why not sell half if you're not there in terms of selling all, sell half. Interesting thing about the folks who sell half is they often don't look at it again. They say, all right, I had a nice gain. Pigs get slaughtered. I'll take some of my chips off the table. What I'm leaving in is all profit. Keep an eye on that stock because if it stagnates after that point, maybe it's time to get out. And if it has another run up, sell half again. You're absolutely right. No one's ever died from profits. And
Hey, you know what I do? When I go down to Atlantic City or Las Vegas and I want to do a little gambling, First of all, I take an amount of money that I'm comfortable losing all. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm gambling and I have no skill here, right? But if I do happen to start winning, which rarely happens, um, when I double my money, okay, I put half of my investment in my pocket, okay, and then every time I win, I put half again in my pocket, half again in my pocket. Once I know I have my whole investment in my pocket, then I start doubling down, splitting aces, and going crazy. So I think that's really sound advice from Mitch Roschelle from Macro Trends Advisors, that the more of your principal you can get off the table, even a little profits, you got it in your pocket. There's that old saying, now you're playing with house money and you can be a little more cavalier.
Yeah, no question about it. And I definitely think if you're of the mindset that capital gains tax rates are going to go up, long-term capital gains tax rates are going to go up, and you do think you want to sell into this rally, or you do think you want to sell because you have a gain in it, for whatever reason, you may want to think about doing it before the end of the year. I'm not totally sold that we're going to see long-term capital gains rates go up. And they may end up doing one of these things where if your income level's up to this point, you pay one rate, and if it's above it, who knows what could happen in 2021 and beyond. But there's a chance, and if you think you're going to need the money, you're better off doing it before the end of the year.
No doubt about it. The one thing you said in there that I want to point out is when you say, who knows what they might do, I don't really like to take my hard-earned money and invest it in things when my reasoning is, who knows? You know what I mean? So I like a little more binary choice. Now, last week or a week and a half ago, when you were with us, I was having a martini that day. I said, hopefully next time you'll join us and have a liquid lunch. And you held up your hand sanitizer. So,
No.
Are you still drinking hand sanitizer? Is my question. Oh, you got it.
I got a drink. Listen. You get invited back someplace, and there's a custom. You have to respect the custom. I even spruced it up with a little lime, just so you didn't think I was drinking water.
A little fruit, a little vegetable, very nice. You're a healthy financial advisor. I like that. Yeah. Hey, Mitch, you're a great sport. I appreciate you coming back. You're a new friend of the show. I think this is only your second time on, but your insights are always on the money. I like the way you put stuff in practical terms, and my audience, 80% of our audience here on Biz TV are entrepreneurs and small business owners. And when you mention, long-term capital gains, these people, many of them have corporate investment accounts, self-directed employee IRAs and stuff that they invest for them. And I think Joe Biden's been pretty clear that he wants to take the corporate tax rate back to 35%. So these businesses are probably going to have a little less money in their pocket to play around with. So for me, I love what you're saying, and you know a heck of a lot more than I do. But I just know, uncertainty is the worst thing that could happen, and we are in the harshest of uncertain times, in my view.
Yeah, no question. And the one thing that when I look at the Biden tax policy in detail, and there aren't a lot of details, there's some goals in there. There aren't a lot of details. He talked about raising the corporate tax rate. Didn't say much about partnerships, sole proprietors, and what we refer to as pass-through entities. And one of the beauties in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was, pushed through by the Trump administration and passed, in 2017, was that it gave favorable tax treatment to those platforms like partnerships and LLCs. And the reason for that is that's the preferred vehicle for small business. So that was a direct way to benefit small business who use ownership structures like that to conduct their business. There's been no talk of that. And if there's one element of the economy that needs the most support right now, it is small business. And as Congress messes around, and I'm being polite by saying messes around, and I'll cast aspersion at both sides of the aisle there with another round of fiscal stimulus to potentially, in part, help small businesses. It would be tragic if we then went out and passed tax laws that ended up hurting small businesses. And I think what people don't understand is when politicians talk about corporations, they often think big businesses that employ tens of thousands of people. Okay. And many of those are corporations, but there's also corporations that are small businesses. And the thing to remember, before all of this started, small businesses, those companies that had 50 employees or less, were creating 5 times more jobs than those businesses that had 1,000 employees or more.
No
And
question about it.
we cannot turn our back on small business.
No question. 70% of the U.S. workforce is employed by a company that is identified as a small business. So it's very important. Very important we have you back, my friend, because we need you. Mitch Roschelle, he's the founding partner of Macro Trends Advisors. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, JT.
We'll have one
we'll
again.
See you soon. Cheers.
You're watching the Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. We're going to come back and wrap it up with U.S. veteran James Toto and tell us what's going on down in Atlantic County, New Jersey.